NFC playoff picture time, and we'll start. We'll just keep this conversation going, and let's do 5, 6, and 7. Right now, it's Cowboys at 5, Brinson's Rams at 6, and the Seattle Seahawks at 7. All those teams, I would imagine, are teams that you don't feel like facing if you are the Eagles, the Lions, Tampa Bay, in whatever order you feel like. All those teams are actually good teams. You want the Vikings, the Falcons, or the Packers to make the playoff, or the Saints, if God is really looking upon you as a team to host a playoff game.
Saints ain't making the playoffs.
So rank the no, my point is that you want to face them. Like, you don't want to face these 5, 6, 7 teams I'm talking about. So Brinson, rank the playoff teams that are going to have to travel: Dallas, Rams, Seattle, in terms of teams you don't want to face. It doesn't matter who the team is.
Number 1 is the Rams. I just think so. The way I look at this postseason,
go through it real quick. Brinson, Breach goes through his, and you can circle back and tell me why. So give me just.
I just said. Oh yeah, got you. Yeah. So I've got Rams, Dallas, Seattle, Green Bay, Minnesota.
That's it. Just the ones that are inside. So you got the Rams, Dallas, Seattle. That's your ranking for the teams. Breach, you agree with that?
Cowboys at 5. I think the Seahawks at 6 and the Rams at 7.
All right, go ahead, Breach. I mean, Brinson, explain, and then Breach can yell at you.
For me, I look at this postseason, and I think that this feels like, and I could end up being wrong, happens a lot. It feels like one of those postseasons where it's going to be the hot, like the quarterback who gets scorching hot in the postseason and can rip off a couple of wins just because they are playing. They can, and I think
Joe Flacco.
Right, exactly. I think Joe Flacco qualifies. I think
original Joe Flacco. Sorry,
I think this year's Joe Flacco qualifies.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think Josh Allen qualifies.
Yep.
I think Matthew Stafford qualifies because
it's playing great.
It's just dudes who, if they start seeing the matrix as passers, there's nothing you can do about it. Eli Manning did it. Ben Roethlisberger did it. Aaron Rodgers did it. The arm talent and the skill level, the ability to be a veteran enough quarterback where you could just it just clicks and you are rolling.
Like Dak and Geno too?
No, I don't think Dak and Geno have that. So Stafford, that's why the Rams are my number 1. If Stafford's healthy and they're protecting him, and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are healthy and he's dialed in, they can beat anybody on that side of the bracket.
All right, Breach, you're leaving Dallas?
Well, let me ask Brenton this real quick, because the 49ers loss throws a wrench into things, because part of our
49ers will now play everybody in week 18. Yes.
Right. And so now the 49ers are almost certainly going to play their starters because they're not going to have the number 1 seed clinch going into week 18. They're going to need to win that game. And so maybe the Rams are now finishing the season 9-8 and not 10-7.
So if I'm looking at it on the upshot right now, if the Rams beat the Giants, they obviously have to do that on the road. If they lose to the Giants and get the F out, and lose to the 49ers, then there are 2 games. There's one game. If the Steelers beat the Seahawks in Seattle, they would essentially be clinched, and they would be rooting for the Vikings over the Packers in week 17. And then in week 18, Bears to beat the Packers, Lions to beat the Vikings, and Cardinals to beat the Seahawks would be the games that they would be eyeing down. So in other words, they can still get in, but they control their own destiny, but they will have to, and this is where it gets interesting too. What if the 49ers are playing for the 1 seed and the Rams are playing to get in the playoffs, and they haven't beaten them in nine regular season games, and the Rams go and beat the 49ers. Sunday night game costed the 1 seed, move up to the 6th seed, and then all of a sudden you see them again in the NFC Championship game.
Well, even if the Rams lose, though, and say they end up the season 9-8,
still 88% to get in.
Well, because the one thing working in their favor is that you look at the 7 and 8 teams: Vikings, Falcons, Packers, Saints. Vikings and Packers play each other Sunday night this week, so one of them has to lose, and then the Falcons and Saints play each other. Falcons and Saints play each other in week 18, so one of them has to lose. So you're cutting down on the teams that can end up in a tiebreaker with you.
Hey, Breach, before we move on, let me ask you, then I'll ask Brinson. Are you comfortable with the top 7 in the NFC, or do you want to add somebody and kick somebody out?
I think it goes 49ers, Eagles, Lions, Buccaneers, Cowboys, Rams, Seahawks.
You could just said you're fine with the way it currently is, but okay.
Yeah, I think I would.
Well, I have the Eagles at 2, not the Lions.
I would say this too. I would move the Seahawks.
Let me apologize to Breach. I didn't update my thing. My bad, Breach.
I would move the Seahawks up to by 6 in the question you asked above Dallas. I think the Mike McCarthy thing worries me. And when Pete Carroll and Geno Smith are just finding ways to win, and you have DK and Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ken Walker's running well, defense is creating some chaos. Seattle's a little dangerous. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but you just said that Geno can't do what Stafford can do and get hot. All Geno does is get
I
hot.
don't think he can win 4. I don't think he can win 3 or 4 games and win the Super Bowl.
Oh, good Lord, 3 or 4. That's a lot. Once you get
no. I mean, this is pretty obvious. I mean, they just beat the Eagles. I think they could go to Detroit. They beat the Eagles at home. They beat Detroit on the road. Seattle and the Rams and the Seahawks are chaos agents on the back end of this playoff bracket. Like if we get Rams at Lions, Seahawks at Eagles, and Cowboys at Bucks, I think there's a very reasonable chance that all 3 road teams all 3 underdogs win those games. The Bucks beat the Cowboys, Rams beat the Lions, and Seahawks beat the Eagles. I don't think that's outrageous at all.
All right, let's go to the AFC. Breach 5 is Cleveland, 6 is Buffalo, 7 is Indianapolis. Let's start at the bottom here. Any teams you want to swap in or out? Or are you comfortable with where we are here?
By the way, in that scenario, the Rams could host the NFC Championship game. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
I've been on the Gardner Minshew bandwagon. I feel like I would be miserable if I got off and now, even though they got slaughtered by the Falcons in a must-win game. My God. But I think the Browns and Bills feel like locks at this point. And then, I mean,
are the Falcons the most annoying NFL team in the last 40 years?
Unpredictable. They're just unpredictable. They always do the opposite of whatever you think they're going to do is what they do. I just think the AFC playoff race is crazy because I could see the Bengals beating the Chiefs this week. I could see the Raiders beating the Colts, the Titans beating the Texans. Like there's just so many wrenches that could be thrown into this. But I'll say the Colts get the 7th seed, even though my heart says the Bengals.
Yeah, you don't feel good about it.
This feels like one of those Week 18 seasons where Andy Dalton's people from the opposing team are donating to Andy Dalton's charity.
Oh yeah.
Was it the Bills fans? The Bills got in because Andy Dalton beat the Ravens.
Right.
So Bills fans donated like $500,000 to Andy Dalton's charity or something.
That sounds right.
All right. So we have in the AFC, we have Baltimore, Miami.
Baltimore's a lock. I'm sorry, producer Harry. I don't think next week's going to matter. Baltimore's a lock at number 1, and then after that, it's sort of mayhem.
But those are the only 2 teams who are in. The Chiefs are. I see at 98%. I mean, they're going to get in. Man, the Browns are over 99%.
Well, who's winning the AFC South? What's everybody's prediction there?
I'm going to stick with the Jaguars, but don't feel great about it.
No, and if CJ comes back and he's actually rested and maybe a little healthier. Because they played with a little spark at the end of that game.
Any chance CJ Stroud doesn't win Rookie of the Year?
Well, we'll see what old Puka keeps doing. Puka won't stop.
Puka's down to like plus 450 after
Can't
that.
Stop, won't stop.
Put all your money on.
I mean, here's the thing, man. Like Jaguars, huge question. The Chiefs, huge question. I have fewer questions about the Browns and the Bills than I do about the 2 teams above them.
That's whack.
What if the Jaguars miss the playoffs?
They're not missing the playoffs.
I'll tell you who the team is. It's the John Breach will be writing a story about them on Tuesday morning special. Who is it, Breach, in the AFC?
The Raiders.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I might read that story. I might claim that story first thing tomorrow morning. Before
the Raiders can steal the AFC West from the Kansas City Chiefs.
So let me tell you what our guy Stephen O. Sportsline, when he's not firing off angry tweets about how much he doesn't like anti-Raven sentiments online. Breach.
Did you see Schefter aggressively tweeting at Rich Eisen? That was weird.
Let's see. After Sunday, before Monday, the three-headed game in which the Raiders beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. So after Sunday, the Raiders had a 1.7% chance to make the playoffs. And after everything that transpired on Monday, good Lord, including the Raiders beating the Chiefs, they're up to 12.3%. Just for completion, Breach, my Steelers are at 14%, and your Bengals are at 22%. So I'm saying there's a chance